UFC 305, Plessis versus Adesanya, hottest takes of the card. Now, of course, some of them are going to be a little bit outlandish. Some of them you're going to be like, that's a stupid take, my guy. And a few of them you're going to be like, well, you know, that actually does make a lot of sense. So, of course, when I'm done with this video, wait till the end and comment your hottest takes of the card down below. And, of course, if you're down there in the comment section, that pinned comment does have all of the bets that I am making for this UFC pay-per-view. My first hot take of the card is going to be Mateusz Gamrot is a bad mother. Can't say it on YouTube. They might, you know, demonetize me or something. But Gamrot's a BMF, my guy. Might not fight like a BMF, like a Max Holloway, a Gaethje, a Poirier, a Nate Diaz, a Masvidal, but he's 24-2. He's on a 3-fight win streak in the hardest weight class in the UFC, all over ranked fighters in the lightweight division. Beat Rafael dos Anjos, who's ranked 13th in the UFC lightweight division. Jalen Turner, who's ranked 14th in the UFC lightweight division. He also has a win over number 8, Rafael Fiziev, in that 3-fight win streak. And of course, before his loss to Beneil Dariush, had a win over the number 1 contender in Arman Tsarukyan. And guess what they do? He's got a win over number 1, number 8, 13, and 14. Who are they going to give him? Number 11. They're going to give him number 11. They're not going to give him, oh no, he's 3 wins in a row. We're not going to give you a step up, Gamrot. We're going to give you a number 11 fight against the guy in his home area. You're going to have to fly to his place when he's the lower ranked guy, and the UFC wants him to win, and they want you to lose, and you're still going to accept the fight, which he did. That's why Mateusz Gamrot is a bad mofo. He's ranked 5th behind Poirier, Gaethje, Oliveira, and Arman. Realistically, he should be fighting Justin Gaethje next. He should be fighting Charles Oliveira next, Arman Tsarukyan for the interim belt, but instead he's fighting number 11, and that is why Gamrot's a BMF. He does whatever the UFC says. Whoever they want him to fight, he's going to fight. He doesn't care what they're ranked. He will go out there and, like Dan Hooker said, fight them. I mean, it might not be the most entertaining fight or anything like that, but he accepts the fight and he's winning these fights. I mean, again, 2 years ago, he went out there and beat Arman Tsarukyan by unanimous decision. You can say what you will about how that might have been a robbery. He's got to win over him. He should be not. He shouldn't even have to take this fight against Dan Hooker. Islam's injured. They should just immediately be booking Arman Tsarukyan, Mateusz Gamrot. Gamrot is a BMF for taking this fight when he didn't really have to, and he really does deserve an interim title fight at this point, or at least a Charles Oliveira matchup. Come on, Charles, stop ducking that fight. Next hot take of the card is going to be Carlos Prates, Jingliang Li. Now, overwhelmingly, everybody is saying this fight's going to be a domination. Oh, Carlos Prates, 2-0 in the UFC, dominating Charles Radke, dominating Trevin Giles. He's knocking out everyone. He's on like a 10-fight knockout streak. He's the next big thing in the welterweight division. Guys, hold your horses. How many times have we been wrong about these situations of these hyped guys winning against lower level guys in their weight class? Then they fight the veteran of that weight class, and then they start to struggle a little bit. Jingliang Li's a veteran. He wins one, he loses one, he wins one, he loses one, but he knocks out dudes. He's coming off a loss, yes, but who was that too? Daniel Rodriguez, and I thought he won that fight. Beat Muslim Salikhov by knockout. Ponzinibbio by knockout. That's a hard dude to TKO. And, you know, he's never been knocked out himself. So everybody's saying this is going to be a domination from Carlos. That's where my hot take comes into place. It's not going to be a domination from Carlos. Instead, it's going to be 3 rounds of pure freaking fun. I was looking at some of the prelim fights, and I was kind of debating that fight could be fight of the night. This one could be really good. Carlos Prates, Jingliang Li is going to be an absolute war. 3-round decision, 29-28, really close fight. Amazing striking for 3 rounds. Some knockdowns here, some blood there. It's going to be a war, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think Carlos runs through Jingliang like the odds suggest, having him as a 4-1 favorite. As you guys suggest, I mean, you guys are predicting 80% of you are saying that Prates is going to knock out Jingliang Li. No, this is a very tough fight for anybody in the welterweight division, and I think it goes all the way, and it literally could go either way on those judges' scorecards. I can't wait for that fight, and it's going to be the fight of the night. Next one we do have Adesanya does not deserve a title fight. What is he doing? What is the UFC doing? Because I know what Adesanya is doing. He's just taking the offer that he was given, okay? He was given the offer to fight Dricus du Plessis in the main event. It's going to be a big money fight, the grudge match. Oh, they hate each other because one said the other is an African. I don't give a blank about the trash talk and the back and forth between Dricus and Adesanya. I frankly could not care less when Adesanya is the number 2 contender. He's coming off not a split decision loss like Sean was coming off against Dricus du Plessis, but he was coming off a dominating, humiliating decision loss to Sean Strickland. Got knocked down by Sean Strickland, who we all know doesn't have any power in his hands. Only guy he's ever been able to knock out in the UFC was Brendan Allen, and we know Brendan, his chin is a little iffy as well. So why on earth are we giving Adesanya a title fight? Well, I know why. It's money. The UFC is going to make a lot more with the grudge match. Oh, he's African, you're African. Who cares? Sean Strickland, Dricus du Plessis would have the same build-up, the same, I would honestly say, same amount of money would be made from a du Plessis-Sean Strickland rematch. Same amount of money would be made from the winner of Robert Whittaker, Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis, or just do Robert Whittaker, or just do Chimaev right now. All of those, I think, would make a similar amount of money to Adesanya. They're just doing it to give Adesanya another crack to become a third-time champion in the middleweight division when, ladies and gentlemen, the only way you become a 3-time champion in your weight class is when you lose your belt 2 other times. And then that's how you're able to gain back the belt. Ladies and gentlemen, if you become a multiple-time champion, cool. That's not an accomplishment. Like Rose Namajunas. Oh, she's a 2-time women's strawweight champion. Well, she lost her belt. That's why. She lost and then came back and won it again because they gave her another fight at the belt. Only way she became a double-time champion. Israel Adesanya, same thing. It's not an accomplishment, Izzy. I don't know why they're trying to say that, oh, Izzy's winning for the 3rd time. That means he freaking got knocked out by Pereira, and he lost humiliatingly by Sean Strickland. So I don't like that take at all. I don't know if that's a hot take, but Adesanya, that's not an accomplishment. And Adesanya, you do not deserve the title fight. I can look at the rankings right now and say Sean Strickland deserved it more than you. After 1 win over Paulo Costa, very close fight, split decision. For some reason, I don't know how they gave that fight to Paulo, but he deserves it more. Robert Whittaker on two wins in a row, Ikram knockout, and then of course the Paulo Costa unanimous decision. Whittaker deserves it more than Adesanya at this point. Nasruddin Imavov, I would even say, deserves it more than Israel Adesanya at this point, knocking out Jared Cannonier. He's on an impressive win streak in the UFC middleweight division. Brendan Allen, I don't even care. Brendan Allen deserves this title fight more than Israel Adesanya. And I know he's coming off a split decision over Chris Curtis and doesn't really have any ranked wins other than Chris Curtis. I don't care. I really, really do not care. Brendan Allen deserves it more because, well, guess what? He's coming off a win. Adesanya is coming off a humiliating loss. So please, I know Izzy fans are going to comment down below, but my Izzy deserves everything. Oh, headshot. No, that's Leon Edwards. My bad. But you got frozen like Elsa. I mean, all the stupid catchphrases that Israel Adesanya comes up with, I don't care. The trash talk of African versus African, I don't care about that either. Does he deserve the title shot? No, he doesn't. That's some BS. In the UFC's middleweight division. Next topic, I could go on forever about Adesanya not deserving that shot. Next one is Tai Tuivasa. I'm a fan of Tai. I mean, win or lose, entertainment. I mean, Marcin Tybura, he got finished by submission. Volkov, he got finished by submission. Got knocked out by Pavlovich and Gane, knocking out Stefan Struve, Augusto Sakai, Derek Lewis, all these crazy wins and losses. They're all finishes, though. So, I mean, I know he's on a 4-fight losing streak right now. I know he's going to be on a 5-fight losing streak. Again, I keep getting it with the Jairzinho, Rozenstruik, and losing streak. But yeah, he's going to be on a 5-fight losing streak after this weekend, and don't care. Don't care. He was on a 3-fight losing streak a few years ago to Junior Dos Santos, Blagoy Ivanov, Sergey Spivak. I really could not care less. He could lose 10 in a row in the UFC heavyweight division, and if I'm the UFC, as long as he doesn't have a losing record, I'm going to re-sign. I'm going to re-sign Tai Tuivasa to the UFC. I really don't give a blank. Tai Tuivasa, win or lose, and even if he's losing, again, 10 losses in a row, I wouldn't care less. I'd rather have him on the prelims or on the main card of some UFC fight night rather than some of these dudes. I'm talking to you, Muhammad Usman. I'm talking to you, not Mick Parkin. I mean, Lucas Brzezinski, Valter Walker. I mean, these guys, just horrible cardio, freaking holding on for dear life, gassed out around 3, not able to get the finish early on in the fight. Like, I'd much rather have Ty getting knocked out every weekend than freaking heavyweight decisions. Those are horrible. Horrible to watch. So Ty, you can lose this weekend. You could get unranked, lose to freaking Mick Parkin. Maybe they do that fight. Lose to Waldo Cortez Acosta. I don't care. I want you to be re-signed for the end of time. Until you have a losing record, until you're 14-15 as an MMA fighter, re-sign every single time. Tai Tuivasa, just such a fun fighter. Next one, it's about the fight times. It's about the fight times, ladies and gentlemen. I got to look it up really quickly, UFC's schedule, but I believe, off the top of my head, this card is at 11 a.m., or no, 10 a.m. on Sunday for everybody in Perth. On Sunday. We are watching in America, in the United States, whatever. We're watching at 10 p.m. That's when the main card starts. And, well, the main card in Australia, where the fights are taking place, where fighters are competing and laying their health on the line, the main card starts at 10 a.m. The prelims, so freaking, what's his name? Stuart Nickel, first fight of the night, has to fight at 6:30 a.m., which means he's got to wake up at like 3 o'clock, get ready, go to the venue, start warming up, stretch his back out, get the hands taped, do all of this freaking stuff by 6:30 a.m. in the morning. I frankly have not woken up that early in a very long time. I'm going to be honest with you. What is he doing? What is what is the UFC doing where we have all of these cards, pay-per-view cards, champions on the cards, up-and-coming contenders have to fight at horrible times? Like, the last one was like 2 a.m. in the morning, freaking UFC 304. Now we have fighters fighting at 6:30 a.m. They have to fight in the morning, wake up, tired, just waking up, and then go in and put their life on the line. I mean, what are we doing, UFC? I understand you want to cater to the U.S. audience. I am the U.S. audience, and quite frankly, I would care a heck of a lot more, or I would prefer that you at least give the actual UFC fighters optimal time to fight, rather than me, oh, yay, I could watch it at 7 p.m. That's when the prelim starts. I could watch the main card at 10 p.m. Whippity-doo. That doesn't help me, like, 10 a.m. versus freaking 10 p.m. Like, I could watch a UFC card whatever time of the day. I could watch the replay if I'm not able to fight. The only thing that's really important is that the UFC fighters themselves actually go out there with 100%. Like, I know that they're coming in with injuries and things like that, but the one thing the UFC really can take control of, because you can't control a fighter coming in with injuries, little bumps and bruises, you can control when they fight, and you're choosing to make it US times. You're not choosing to make it wherever the fight's actually taking place. People paying thousands and thousands of dollars to watch a UFC fight card, and they gotta wake up at 4 o'clock. 5 o'clock to make it to the venue, to get their seats, to get drinks, to get the food, and watch the first fight at 6:30 a.m. Prioritize the actual UFC fans paying for tickets. Prioritize the fighters. Don't prioritize myself in the United States, who is going to watch the card at 10 p.m. Again, whippity-doo. Let's give the UFC fighters some love here. Let's have them fight at their normal times, in their country's normal times, and let's stop it. Stop it with this nonsense of fighting at freaking 6:30 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. BS. BS, UFC. So yeah, I would literally change the UFC fight time for this weekend to same time, 10 p.m. Perth time, which in America, for me on the East Coast, would be 10 a.m. I have no problem watching the card as a fan over here at 10 a.m. I have no problem with that. I'll be up by then, and I can watch it for breakfast, watch it throughout lunch, go to the store and still watch the card, and then I'll be done with the card by, what would it be? I don't know, 12:30, 1 p.m. Why not just do that and actually have the UFCs rested and fully healthy going into the fight, and the fans that are actually paying for their tickets actually have a good experience, so they're not They're not like that the whole freaking cards. Come on. Come on, UFC. All right, last but not least, the card is below average. Yeah, I said it. The card is below average. Again, this is a hot take video, so you guys can feel free to debate me down below in the comments section. The card's below average. I got a list of the last 10 UFC pay-per-views, and I got UFC 305 ranked as 7th. I have UFC 300 ranked ahead of it. UFC 299 for obvious reasons. 298 with Volkanovski and Ilya, Whitaker and Paulo, Ian Gary, Marab, Henry Cejudo. Those are all above it. UFC 296, UFC 303, even UFC 304. That just happened. I think that's a better card than this one is overall. And Mokaev on the freaking prelims. This one, there's not really a fight that's on the prelims that has a lot of big name value or anything. I honestly do believe UFC 305, the only cards it's better than is UFC 301, Pantoja versus Erceg, UFC 302, because that was the Islam card, had way too many decisions on that card, and then UFC 297, which it really wasn't stacked. It was just Du Plessis, Sean Strickland, and then the female title fight. So I really do have this card ranked in the bottom 30 to 40% of UFC pay-per-views this year. I really don't believe this is a super, super good card. I think the main card is great. I think the main event's amazing. Du Plessis, Adesanya. I think Tuivasa, Rozenstruik is really, really good. Kai versus Erceg, Gamrot versus Hooker. I mean, pretty high-ranked fights. But it's really carried by the main card there. It is really, really carried by the main card. As soon as we go to the prelims, the featured prelim is Junior Tafa, Valter, Walker. There's no ranked fights on the prelims. Not every fight on the main card is ranked either. And I'll talk about UFC 306 coming up. I don't like that main card either. But yeah, it's a good card in terms of the fights that are on it. Tom Nolan, Jack Jenkins' fight, Josh Culibao. These are all very, very fun fights on paper, but in terms of name value and in terms of looking at the card, as opposed to other ones that have happened recently, even UFC 304, there is just a lot more name value even on the prelims for those cards. That card, UFC 304, had 14 fights on it. UFC 305 only has 12, so it's not living up as much as some of the other cards this year. So I would have it as a below average UFC pay-per-view. But those are the hot takes I have for you guys for UFC 305. Du Plessis versus Adesanya. Carlos Prates, Jingliang Li. Not going to be an easy win for Carlos. It's going to be a 3-round fight of the night, back and forth war. Mateusz Gamrot's a bad mother blanker. 3 wins in a row, and he's fighting down in the rankings again. And he's not getting an Oliveira. He's not getting an interim title fight. Some BS right there. I know Gamrot's not the most exciting guy, but he deserves it, man. He deserves it. Adesanya it does not deserve it. Kind of talking about deservingness with Gamrot. Adesanya don't deserve anything. He should be fighting freaking Imavov in the main event of Paris. I don't care. That's what should happen. Adesanya versus Imavov should be the fight, but no. Let's give Adesanya a title fight because, ooh, I'm a freeze him like Elsha. Oh, shut up, Izzy. Next one we got is Tai Tuivasa. He could lose as many fights as possible until he has a losing record. I'm not even considering cutting Tai Tuivasa from the UFC. Nope, stay in for the end of your career, Tai. I don't care. Win or lose, amazing fights. Fight times, horrible. Come on, stop screwing up. The fans that are actually paying for their tickets, the fighters that are actually fighting, you're ruining their performances. You're making them not as good as they would be had they be fighting at an optimal time period. So just stop prioritizing U.S. fans. I'm a U.S. fan and a UFC fan, but stop prioritizing me. I'm not the one that matters. The fighters and the fans paying for tickets matter more than me sitting on my booty watching a card from thousands and thousands of miles away. Stop prioritizing me. And then last but not least, it's a bottom 40% UFC fight card. Not the worst of the worst UFC pay-per-view, but it's below average 100% in terms of the last 10 UFC pay-per-views. So thank you guys for watching this full card hot take video. And like and subscribe. Comment your hot takes down below and your thoughts about my hot takes. If you agreed, if you disagreed. Of course, come on, guys. Come on, support the channel. We make like, what do you make, like $10 a day on this channel for hours and hours of work. We're making like $2 an hour. This is way below minimum wage. So if you want to support the channel, check out the Patreon link down below. $1.25 for this entire card and all of my parlays, props, and money lines. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Israel Adesanya